In the second module, we learn to create datetime objects using the date class and the POSIX-CT, POSIX-LT classes. And while looking at date and time formats, again, we learn to parse date using strip time and parse underscore date underscore time, as well as many other helper functions. Now in this module, we'll explore a few other functions that will allow us to do the same, right? So we look at make underscore date to create date objects, and make underscore date time to create date and time objects, that is those objects which include both date component as well as the time component, and another function update, which will allow us to update different components, right? It will allow us to update the year, month, day, hour, minute and second. Now the way we create date or time using these functions is similar to what we did with the ISO date function, where we specified each component separately, right? So let's get started, right? And we'll see how to create date time objects here. First we'll experiment with the make underscore date, right? So this will allow us to create date time objects without the time component, right? And for this we have to specify the following, which is year, month and date. And we need to specify all the components in numbers, right? That is, we cannot use July or the abbreviated month name for the month. It has to be 7 and not July, right? So let us create a date, make underscore date. This again comes from the LibriDate package, right? So first we specify the year, which is again 2019, followed by the month, which is 12 for December, and the day is again 12. Right, let me just format this a bit. Okay, so we'll run this. We'll see the output here, right? Now this creates a date objects, that is those without any time component. When you need to include the time components as well, right? So let us say date time components. So use the make underscore date time function, okay? And then you specify the year, month and date as usual, right, like we did in the previous case. And then you start with the time components. So hour, min for minute, and sec for second, which is 03, and finally you also add in the time zone, right? So we took whatever information we had in the previous example, year, month and day, and then we added the time component and the time zone, right? So let us run this, and you can see the date time object here, right? It has the date component, the time component, as well as the time zone. Now let us look at another scenario where you have a datetime object and want to change one of its components, right? Any of the following. It can be the year, month, date. Now instead of creating another datetime object, you can change any of the components using the update function, right? So we have a date and we want to change one of the components. It could be any of the, it could be the date component or it could be the time component. We want to change it. Instead of creating a new datetime object, what we can do is we will update them using the update function, right? So what we'll do in the next example is we'll start with the release date of our 3.6.1 version, right? So far we were looking at the release date of R 3.6.2, which was 12th December 2019. Now we'll take the date of the R release 3.6.1, which was 5th July 2019, right? And this we will update to the release date of R 3.6.2, right, which is the date we have been using so far. Now to do that, we'll use this date first, then use the update argument, and we will change the year to 2019, the month to 12, and the date to 12, right? So when we run this, now the previous release date is sorry, so if I type the previous release date, you can see it is 5th July 2019, but once we run this update function, it will become 12th December 2019, right? Only the day and the month component has changed, but we have been able to update this to the release date of R3.6.2. So whenever you want to update the components, use the update function instead of creating a whole new datetime object, right? So in all the cases where we have created a datetime object, it has been a single instance, right? We have just looked at one date, and that may include the time component or it may not include, but it has been just one instant, right? So we've been looking at the release date of R3.6.2, that is R version 3.6.2, and it is just one date, it's one single instance. Now what about a scenario in which you want to create a sequence of dates, right? Not just a single date, you want to create a sequence of dates. Now we'll learn how to do that using the sequence.date function, right? So I'll just clean this up so that we can have the whole screen for sequence of date. Okay, so the function that we will use is sequence dot date. Okay, and this will take 5 inputs. Okay, so first we need to specify the from date as the bare minimum input, right? It has 5 arguments, but you have to at least specify the from date as the bare minimum input to create a sequence of date, and the from date is the starting date of the sequence. Now if the end date is not specified, it will create sequence up till the current date, right? So the bare minimum input is the from argument, which is the starting date of the sequence. The by argument will be used to specify the end date of the sequence, but as a bare minimum you have to at least specify the from argument. And the interval of the sequence can be specified in any of the following units, right? So the interval for the, there is a gap or difference between the dates can be a day, week, month, quarter or year, and we can add the following to the intervals. One is integer, that is you can have the gap between the dates can be 2 day, 3 week, 5 month, right? So you can add the integer which specifies multiples of the units mentioned, and you can use a sign which will indicate whether you are incrementing the sequence date or decrementing the date sequence. And we can add the following to the interval units, right? One is an integer and second is a sign, right? The sign can be either plus or minus, right? Plus stands for increment and minus stands for decrement. Now using the integer, we can specify multiples of the units mentioned, right? So instead of just say the gap, that is the interval of the sequence, instead of just saying 1 day, you can make it 3 days, 5 weeks, 7 months, right? So the integer will be used to specify multiple of the units. The units here are day, week, month, quarter and year. The integer will specify the multiple of the units mentioned, and using the sign, that is plus or minus, we can specify whether to increment or decrement, right? So you can go from January to December, right, of a particular year, or you can decrement by going from December to January of the same year, right? So it depends on how you want to create the sequence of dates. Now the to argument is used for the increment of the sequence. That's a date increment of the sequence. Then length dot out can be used to specify the length of the sequence, and along dot with is another argument, right? So the length of this argument, the value supplied to this argument, the length of that value will be used as the length of the sequence, right? So all of this will become clear as we start going through the examples, right? We look at all the variations that can be used, and as we start using them, you will understand how to use them in different scenarios, right? In each of the example, we'll use a combination of these arguments that will allow you to understand when and where to use them, right? So let's go to the examples. Let's start creating a sequence of dates. In the first example, we'll create a sequence of dates from 1st January 2010 to 31st December 2019. Okay, the start date is 1st January 2010. So the from argument is equal to as dot date 1st January 2010, and the to argument, that is the end date of the sequence, is 31st December 2019, right? So we have the start date of the sequence using the from argument, and we have the end date of the sequence using the by argument. Okay, now the unit of increment should be a year. That is, the difference between the dates in the sequence should be 1 year, and this is specified using the by argument, right? So it will create a sequence of dates where the difference between the dates will be 1 year, and this we specify using the by argument, and we say the unit of increment, right? The unit of increment should be a year, right? So let us create the sequence of dates and then you will understand, right? So now you can see, right, it has 1st January 2010, and since we said the increment, unit of increment should be 1 year, the next date in the sequence is 1st January 2011, right? So that's why I said the difference between the dates will be 1 year, because we have specified that as the unit of increment. So if you see the dates, you can see it's all 1st January 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, right? So you have the starting date of the sequence 1st January 2010, you have the end date of the sequence 31st December 2019, but since we have specified the unit of increment as year, the last date that you see is 1st January 2019. Okay, now we'll move to the second example. Now in this case, we'll change the unit of increment to a quarter, right? Here the unit of increment is year, right? So we said the difference between dates has to be 1 year. This unit of increment is a year. Now let us change this to quarter. Instead of year, the unit of increment will be a quarter. Then we'll see how the output changes, right? The starting and ending date of the sequence remains the same. We are not going to change this. Here I'll just say increment by quarter. Okay, let us see the output here. Okay, now again you can see the starting date of the sequence is 1st January 2010, and it ends here at 1st October 2019. Now the unit of increment is a quarter, because if you see the second date, it is 1st April 2010, the third one is 1st July 2010, the fourth one is 1st October 2010. So now instead of incrementing by 1 year, it has started incrementing by quarter, right? So the difference between dates here is 1 quarter and not a year. Good. So now you know how to play around with the unit of increment, right? So we have used year, quarter. You can change it to month, week, or day as you wish, right? Now from this, we'll move on and create a sequence of dates, but instead of specifying the unit of increment, we'll specify the number of dates in the sequence, right? So if you go to this slide here, like I said, you can specify the length of the sequence using length dot out argument, right? As I said, because we'll use a different variation of these arguments and see how to create a sequence of dates. Now instead of using the by argument, what we'll do is we'll use the length dot out argument, which tells sequence dot date to create a sequence of that length, right? We specify the length of the sequence, it will figure out the unit of increment, right? So let us try that. We'll use the same example. Okay, and instead of using the by argument, we'll use the length dot out argument, and we'll say that create a sequence of date, length of sequence, right? I'll write it as length of sequence here. So use the starting date and ending date and create a sequence which has 10 dates, right? So let us see how this works, right? So now you can see it has 1st January 2010, then 10th February 2011, 22nd March 2012, right? So now even though this has 10 dates, the dates are different, right? And it ends at 31st December 2019. If you remember, in the first example, we still had 10 dates, right? You can see this also has 10 dates, but since we had specified the unit of increment, it was always in the first month, right? It had the same month and the same date. Only thing that was changing there was the year. Now if you look at this sequence, right, it also has 10 dates, but the month and the day have changed here, right? So we are saying create 10 dates starting from this date to this date. Now what will happen is the difference between these dates will still be the same, right? If you try to calculate the difference between these dates, it will still be the same, right? So this is another way to create a sequence of dates. When you want to specify the length of the sequence instead of the unit of increment, then use length dot out. Okay, now let us move on to another example, right? So in all of the previous cases, we have specified both the start and the end date, right? In all these examples, we specified both the start and the end date. Now let us look at a few examples where we create a sequence of dates but only specify the start date. So in the next example, we'll only specify the start date but we'll not specify the end date, right? So we'll stick with the same start date, which is 1st January 2010, but since we are not specifying the end date, we have to do a couple of other things, right? We have to specify the unit of increment and then we have to specify the length of the sequence, right? Let us try this. Specify only start date, right? So I'll take this same example. I will change the end date. I'll remove the end date here. Instead of this, we will have the by argument so that the unit of increment is specified. We'll make it year. And since we don't have an end date, we have to specify the length of the sequence as well, right? So then it will start incrementing by year, and once it reaches the length of the sequence specified, it will stop there. Let us try and run this. Right, so again you have 10 dates because we have specified the length of the sequence here, and then you can see the unit of increment is year. That's the difference between the dates here is 1 year, and you can see again that the month and day remain the same. Only thing that changes is the year. And if you see, the output in these two cases is the same, right? It's just a different way of getting the same output, right? In this case, we specified the starting date and the end date, and then we specified a unit of increment. And in the second case, we have specified the starting date. We left out the end date, but we specified the unit of increment and the length of the sequence, right? So there are different ways in which you can create the same sequence of dates. Good. Now, what is the other variation that we can try? We talked about how the unit of increment can include multiples as well as a sign. That is a positive sign or a negative sign, which will indicate either increment or decrement, right? So in this example, the dates will be incremented by a unit of 2. So instead of 1 year, we'll make it 2 year, right? Let us try it out. So once we look at the example, it will become clear. Right, so we'll take the same example from the previous case, okay, and instead of the unit of increment being 1 year, I'll make it 2 year. That is, the gap between dates will be 2 year now. Let us run this, right? So here you can see the first year. Now since we are incrementing by year, the month and day remains the same. What will change is the gap between the years. Here when we specified year, the difference between the years was just 1 year, right? 2010, 2011, 2012. But now that we have used a multiple of 2, the gap between the years will be 2 years. So you have 2010, instead of 2011 you have 2012, then it becomes 2014, 2016, right? So by using a multiple, you can increase the unit of increment. So you can make it 2 year, 3 year, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 2 months, 3 months, right? You can do that, and that will increase the gap between the dates. Now one last thing that we want to see is the sign that we use, right? Whether we are incrementing the sequence or we are decrementing the sequence. So let us say instead of increment, we want to decrement the dates. That's the sequence of dates will go backwards instead of going forward. Okay, and we achieve this by using the negative sign along with the unit of decrement. So the sequence of dates in the next example will start from 2010, but instead of going to 2020, 2019 or 2022, it will go to 1992, because we are not going forward, we are going backward, because by using the negative sign we are saying that this is not a unit of increment but a unit of decrement. So we do not want to go forward, we want to go backwards, right? So from 2010 we will go backwards up to 1992, and the difference will be 2 years. Between the dates, the difference will be 2 years. First we will see where the unit of increment is the unit of decrement is a single year, and then we will use a multiple for the unit of increment, and we will change it to 2 years, right? So now we'll say decrement. Okay, and here what I will do is I will change this to minus. Okay, so we want to go backwards from 2010 for 10 dates, the sequence which has 10 dates, and each date goes back by a year, right? Let me create this, right? So we start from 2010, right? Again, the month and the day remains the same because the unit of increment is 1 year, but since we have used a negative sign along with 1, we go back from 2010 to 2001, right? Now if I change this to 2, that is, we use a multiple of 2 for the unit of decrement, then this will go from 2010 to 1992, right? So now you know how to use the unit of increment when you're specifying the start date and the end date. That is what we did here. And then we change the unit of increment from a year to a quarter. You can also use a month, a week, or a day. Then we, instead of using the unit of increment, we started specifying the length of the sequence, right? Again, we specified the start date of the sequence and the end date of the sequence, but instead of specifying the unit of increment, we have specified the length of the sequence. Then we change from there and start only with the start date of the sequence. Then we change from there. Then in the next example, we only use the start date of the sequence and then specified the unit of increment as well as the length of the sequence, and we left out the end date of the sequence, right? So given these two information, that is unit of increment and the length of the sequence, R will figure out the end date of the sequence. Then we tried to use a multiple for the unit of increment. So instead of just specifying the unit of increment as year, we said 2 year. That is, the difference between the dates in the sequence should be 2 years instead of 1 year, right? And then we also learned how to use the signs to specify whether it is a unit of increment or decrement. That is, whether the sequence will go forward or whether it will go backwards, right? So you can try different variations, try with different units of increment, try with different multiples, and try with both positive and negative sign to go forward as well as backward. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the section on sequence of dates, right? You can do a lot of practices. We have added a few practice questions for you where you can play around with the sequence of dates. The last thing that we want to look in this module is the type verification, that is membership testing. If you want to check if the data that you have is a date or time object, how do you do that, right? Now you can do that using three functions, right? One is is.date, right? So we'll check the release underscore date using this, right? That says false, right? Because release underscore date is not an object of class date, right? Now, all the is.dot functions will give you logical values, that is either true or false, right? If the object belongs to that class, it will return true, else it will return false. Now we'll see if it is an object of POSIX CT, right? And it says true, right? You can confirm that by running class release underscore date, right? It's an object of class POSIX CT. You can also use is.POSIX LT if you want to check if an object is of class POSIX LT, right? That is if you want to extract the different components from that date, you can check if it is a object of class POSIX LT, right? So these are three membership testing functions which will allow you to verify the data type of the object that you are dealing with, right? Now we'll go back and look at a few practice questions for you. So R 2.0 was released on 4th October 2004, right? So now create this date using the make underscore date function and make underscore date time function, where you'll also include the time component and the time zone, and then you will update that date to the date of our 3.0 release date, right? So 2.0 was released in 4th October 2004. You will update it to 3rd April 2013 when our 3.0 was released, right? So again, these questions are there in the PDF in the learning management system, and we also given the solution in the Ask script. So try to answer these questions and then compare your solutions with the ones that we have given. Now that brings us to the end of the module on creating, updating and verifying datetime objects. In the next module, we'll understand what intervals, duration and period are and how we can use them for data analysis.
I hope you have enjoyed listening to this video. Please be kind enough to like, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries, and we will reply to them at the earliest. Do look out for more videos on our playlist, and subscribe to R Squared Academy channel to learn more. Happy learning!